Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Perth Alley-Cat Laneway sessions. In today's video, I want to have a chat about wheel building. It's not going to be a how to build wheels video, just more about why you do it, how do you get into it, the benefits, and what you can do with it. It's just kind of sparked off from someone commenting about the twist lace spoke wheel I had on the last bike check video. It kind of just asking, is it difficult to do? And they didn't have a lot of money to do a fancy build. So I just wanted to touch on that. Just quickly, this is a shot of my workshop. So my den of chaos where I build things, repair things, and often break things. It's really, really nice to have. I'm fortunate enough to have the space for it, but you don't have to go this elaborate. I think it will really help you if you're interested in working on your bikes, just have a dedicated space, not just like your ad hoc lounge room. If you can have just a bench, a place that your tools live, so you can keep things organized, it just helps you be a lot more efficient and a little bit more focused having a set space for it. So why would you want to go to the effort of learning to build a wheel? It's actually a very handy skill to have because you're intrinsically coming to understand the wheels a lot better. And you're intrinsically learning how to repair them. So either truing it or maybe replacing spokes or nipples that have broken. Also for me, it's allowed more flexibility in the bikes I could build because frankly, there's not a lot of off-the-shelf solutions for fixed gear riders. Almost always going to be 700C, could be really shit quality, or conversely, it's going to cost a lot because they've got really bougie components on them. So if you're at all curious about wheel building, I highly recommend that you give it a go. It doesn't have to cost a lot, and with a bit of patience, anyone can learn this skill. Now, the wheel in question that was commented on was this twist lace or the snowflake build. If you try to do this on your first go, yes, it's going to be a very steep learning curve. What I'd recommend instead is to start small, start simple, take any sort of junk wheel you might have lying around or curbside rescue, something that's been thrown out. And as long as the nipples are right, you can delace it and learn how to build from there. For my first few efforts, and I still do use it sometimes, is the spoke key on my multi-tool. And yeah, I sat there, beer in hand, wheel in the lap, and I just delaced it and redid it all. Of course, I watched some videos, but I really do. I'm the kind of person that has to do it to absorb the lessons. So you have nothing to lose. It's just a junk wheel. Worst you can do is just round out a nipple, or you have to relace it again. And yeah, go from there. And the things you can do, for example, I wanted to build a fixed gear freestyle bike. I'll feature this later on as well. I wanted to build on 26-inch wheels, so got some old flip-flop hubs. I even rebuilt the hub with some different parts. And yeah, standard 3-cross. Same thing here. My touring bike, originally 700C, but I wanted more tire clearance, so I did a 650B conversion. Still, J-bend, 3-cross 32 hole, tubeless conversion, bomb-proof. And then I started getting a bit freaky with this 20-inch mini velo. I got some AliExpress rims, and I went for a radial lace, which I thought looks pretty bougie. I'll make another video about that. And as an extra note, none of these wheels have any issues. And like, for example, this one, I've taken it across the Victorian High Country on the Hunt 1000 track, and that's pretty rough. Nothing broke there. This one, I bounce up and down curbs and skid all the time. The mini velo probably not rated for weight and load, but I've been riding around that fine so far. None of these have touched a strain gauge or a spoke tension meter or a truing stand. They've all just been done by hand in the frame. I've just been like eyeing it off, or you can use like a zip tie, whatever it is. You can even build your own wheel truing stand if it makes it easy for you. There's lots of videos on that on the internet. Another thing, most of these wheels have been built with recycled parts. Obviously, it's going to save you a lot of money and give you flexibility in whatever you want to build. So I'm going to do that now with a couple of pre-shot videos from the mini velo build, wheel build. So what do I mean by using recycled parts? Well, obviously, as you disassemble wheels, you're going to be left with rims, spokes, nipples, and hubs. And of course, you can get additional parts, like you buy it online, or you find it, you trade with friends, whatever. Then you can recombine the parts to your desired wheel build. And that's what I do. Now, the main limiting factor is getting correct spoke lengths. If you happen to be going from rims and hubs of very similar dimensions and you're going for the same lacing pattern, then you can straight out use the existing spokes. However, that's usually not the case. There's going to be some difference requiring a different length spoke. Now you figure that out by taking measurements of your rims, hubs, selecting various build parameters, putting it all into online spoke length calculators, and it will spit out some numbers for you. And those are your necessary spoke lengths. And you got to be pretty precise about all this. If you don't get it right, the build's not going to go very well. It's like not going to tension correctly, or it's going to break, or spoke's too long, it's going to protrude from the nipple on the inside of the rim and give you a lot of punctures, whatever. Now, wheel building sort of implies that you now go out and buy brand new spokes of the correct length to use. It's similarly along the veins of using a truing stand and having spoke tension meters when building wheels. I don't do that. So what I do instead is I take old spokes of good condition and I recut and I rethread them. Now, process is pretty simple. Obviously, you've got to, I roughly cut it with side cutters to the rough length. And then I'm using a bench grinder here to fine down the length and as well as get rid of any burrs or rough edges at the cut. You don't have to use a bench grinder, but it makes it a whole lot quicker. Same thing, I've got a spoke ruler. However, you can get away with using just a standard ruler, just being very careful. But both of these, the bench grinder and rulers, pretty easy and cheap to get, all things considered. Now, when I've got all the spokes cut to the precise length, then you need to thread it. It's quite a manual process, and I use a Japanese-made Kozan spoke threader. Comes in various thread gauges. However, 14G is the most common. That's one I'd recommend. Got it from Amazon. Costs about $180. And as you can see, I've got it set up in my bench vise. Yeah, you're really going to need one of these to hold it nice and stable as you go through the cutting process. Some cutting fluid as well, which will help make the cuts more accurate and prolong the life of the cutting head. So essentially, you've got 3 cutting heads there at the tip. And as you rotate it, it just goes round and round the spoke and it cuts your new thread for you. And yeah, it's just a very repetitive process of going backwards and forwards. I go twice just to make sure, cutting all your spokes, and then building a wheel. Now, I think this is probably the most efficient and accurate at-home DIY solution for making your own spokes. Would love to hear if someone else got more ideas or they do it a different way. Please send me a message. I'd love to hear about it. And then finally, you take all those cut spokes and you build your wheels. This here's a still shot of the 20-inch mini velo wheels that I created. AliExpress rims, the recut spokes, and recycled hubs. I think they came out pretty schmick. And as I said, from the writing I've done so far, no dramas at all. So yeah, that's my process. Once again, highly encourage you, if you're interested in wheel building, just get into it. Start easy, stripping down old wheels, and go from there. All right. Thanks for listening in, and I'll catch you on the next video.